is getting ready. So according to what I have Chairman Joe Finer. I have
Aye.
Laura Fitch,
Aye.
Michelle Volofsky,
Aye.
and Sue Pierpont. Can you hear me, Sue? Can you hear us, Sue?
Yes, I can, and I can't figure out how you can hear me.
You unmuted, so we can hear you now.
Can you not? Okay, that makes about 4 times, but good, thank you.
Okay. And we have Claude with us. He is communicating via chat.
Claude, please let us know that you're there via chat.
And he responded aye.
Okay, thank you. So we constitute quorum. I guess that'll establish the call to order. If you can scroll up some, because I'm having trouble bouncing back and forth between screens, Stacy.
Oh, sure.
Okay, we have issue with the minutes from the January 22 meeting. And this kind of makes it easier or it's easier if folks pre-read these things, but Stacy has the view at this point in time will allow for scanning of the commission members, but please let us know when you're done with that section. Otherwise, I'll give it a minute or so and then have her move on. Thank you, Stacy. It's a good pace.
I'm all set looking, Laura.
The other thing I'll comment too is that when you begin to speak for the recording, just regularly identify yourself, especially if you're not on the video. Everybody had a chance to, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to rephrase what I normally phrase. If you have not had a opportunity to review through here the minutes, please indicate so right now. Otherwise, I'll look forward to a motion regarding the minutes.
Hey, Laura Fitch, I want to make a motion to accept the minutes of the January 22nd, 2020 meeting as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Hi, this is Sue. I second the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
If we could go one by one on that,
Yeah.
that would be great.
Yeah, I want you to go through the roll call, Stacy.
Okay, Chairman Finer
Aye.
and Laura Fitch,
Aye.
Michelle Volofsky,
Aye.
Susan Pierpont,
Aye.
and Claude, if you could type if you're in favor or opposed. And he said he was in favor. So that is unanimous.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we can go to the next item on the agenda. You have a brief discussion regarding the process, Stacy?
Yeah, I'm just going back to the agenda so you can see what was next. The next item on the agenda was new business. We don't have any old business. New business, application 2020-03-04-01 drainage improvements in the upland review area at 168 South Main Street. And I don't know if Chairman Fano wants to go into this a little bit, but the property owner had contacted me shortly after your February meeting and wanted to do some work in the backyard of his property, which happens to be adjacent to the Naugatuck River. And basically
A branch thereof.
A branch thereof, excuse me. And he gets a lot of water from the street. It pools behind his building, and he was looking to do some grading, possibly a bio basin, a retention basin that would ultimately outlet on the slope above the branch of the Naugatuck River. He filed an application, paid the fee, and we did not have I could be getting it wrong. We did not have one meeting. We had just canceled. And then he was going to present to the March meeting, but then that was when we had to close down. It was right around the same time that we were no longer allowed to hold in-person meetings per the executive order. So he was concerned about getting something started and not waiting any longer than he had already waited. Both Chairman Feiner and myself went out at separate times to take a look at what he was proposing, and what was agreed. And jump in at any point here.
I will. You're doing fine.
Was to do the grading, as that fell in line with one of the permitted uses as of right under section 4.1D in terms of maintenance of one's property. However, he was to hold off on doing anything regarding a basin or outletting into the adjacent watercourse. So he agreed to do that. He has done the work. He had silt fence up and everything. And that's where it stands. I did contact him shortly before this meeting to find out if he wanted to go forward with the remaining portion of what he was considering in terms of the basin and the outletting, and he stated that he did not wish to at this time. So it's on here for the purposes of the commission to know what happened in the interim. And if you wanted to make it official and vote to declare that it was a permitted use of right, we could do so, but just so that the commission knows what occurred.
And I'll jump in. Excellent summary. Thank you. So we walked through the site. Essentially, my observations indicated that you had flat lawn that ran right up to a sharp drop-off bank, very high slope, very short distance to the stream. Now, this is the stream that cuts underneath South Main Street and then is concrete, runs past the Unimetal building, okay, and then eventually winds its way to the Naugatuck River. So the work that was looking to be done would be to do grading and lawn work, both of which, in my opinion, were not anything more than just that, which would be okay through the right of use, and to cut down some branches of trees, which would also fall into the same category. So there was no evidence to suggest that anything that was either done or proposed would require a permit, except for the proposed catch pond and settling pond. So there was as Stacy mentioned, the look was to put in a a wet collection pond that would then discharge. That would be considered point source discharge. So having discussed it with the applicant, he pulled that from the system. So in my opinion, everything else was just approval by Ryan. So right of use. I'm mixing up my terminology there, but right of use.
It is
As-
it's Laura. It is a residential property.
It is a combined use property.
Yes.
Okay.
There is the applicant owns two adjacent properties. The building where the water was near which the water was pooling up is his welding shop. However, the property also has a residence on it that is rented out to tenants, and the water coming through made the back of the building a very wet place, and it also made the yard pretty much unusable for the tenants.
So the area in question really was a lawn used by the residential property. There was no sign of any storage. The only use that the welding shop would have would be egress in the event of going out a backdoor emergency exit. There was a small shed that was out there that was used for general dry goods storage. That was some distance from the welding shop, and there was some mixed use aspect to that as well. But other than that, it was primarily lawn for the rental property.
I have a picture from the GIS up right now if people wanted to get a better frame of reference.
So Laura, just to clarify, the reason I asked that question was because the right of use regulation, section 4.1-D, does say enjoyment of residential. That's why I was asking for that clarification.
Correct. Very good.
Thank you.
Makes sense.
I'm still seeing the minutes, Stacy. So if you posted something else, it's not showing on my
It would
end.
help if I resumed the share.
There you go. So generally, Stacy, if you can move the cursor around the where it says the ADS, yeah, and the lot 168 marker,
Yes.
right? That's
So
where
the area in
the residence
question-
is.
Yeah, the residence is right here. The work that was done was all around here in this area that I'm highlighting.
Right.
The water had been pooling over here, but even when I went out, this whole entire area to the side of the driveway, you'd sink in it.
Yeah,
That was
so-
how wet it was.
So I took a look, as I said, very closely along the building that has the 107.13 on it. And there was no sign. Based on what I do from an environmental health and safety pro, I'm used to looking at concrete pads and the joining between walls and floors and slab. There was no sign of anything leaking out. There was no sign of any discoloration or stressed vegetation other than foot traffic that would come out of the exit doors there. And you can see sign of bicycle tires, general children activity that was footprinted into the lawn. So it was clear that it was being used for residential as well. The building marked the 290S, that is the storage shed. And same thing, it was clean all around except for dry physical debris, most of which was pulled out, but there were a few pieces of concrete slab and the like that were going to be hauled out of there as well as part of the site cleanup leveling. Again, from my standpoint, if there are no further questions, I guess I would look for a motion regarding, the declaration that it can be permitted, or, I'm stumbling over my words, that it was a right of use situation and did not require a permit.
Okay, Laura Fitch, I would like to make a motion that the property at 168 South Main Street that falls under the permitted use of right under section 4.1-D of our regulations.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Hi, this is Sue Pierpont. I second the motion.
Further discussion? Now, let it be noted that also reviewed the wetland area coming up the bank from the stream. So the water area, the stream was clean other than natural debris. Okay, so other than that, it was essentially lawn care and leveling. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor? Stacy, please go through the roll.
Sure. Chairman Finer,
Aye.
Laura Fitch,
Aye.
Sue Pierpont,
Aye.
Claude, if you could indicate via the chat. Claude? Okay, he indicated aye. And Michelle Volovsky.
Aye.
Okay. Everybody's voted aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Oops, excuse me.
Oh, there's my there's my pen.
There we go. Okay, the next item on the agenda. Did you want me to go into that?
Please.
This is another request for declaratory ruling located at 11 Ada Drive from Robert Flanagan, the homeowner. He regrets he's unable to attend tonight. He works for the city of Bristol and they had a planning and zoning meeting tonight as well. So I offered to discuss this with you on his behalf. He is engaging in a variety of different projects, improvement projects around his home. And what he's specifically coming to the commission regarding is his desire to replace the existing lawn. He provided a summary that was in your packet and I have it up on the screen right now. Once I press resume, there we go. And he was issued a permit in 2002 to clear land of scrub growth in order to create an outdoor lawn space. And he says that he's maintained the footprint that was approved. He's requesting permission to refresh the lawn by spreading topsoil. And it says 110 cubic yards of topsoil. And then it's going to be hydroseeded. They do not plan to use fertilizer once the lawn is established. He intends to keep to the exact same footprint, so there will be no expansion. The area that borders the wetland proper along our frontage on Ada Drive near the corner of Atwood will be protected with a line of silt fence. Other areas may need minor protection from erosion and they will be addressed on an as-needed basis. And he provided some maps. So this is the property in its entirety. And this is the area he's highlighted showing this is the area where the lawn refreshing and replanting will take place. All over here is the wetlands area. This shows, it's kind of hard to see, but this shows the mapping according to the GIS, which admittedly may not be exactly precise, but just to kind of give you an idea, the shaded area is according to the GIS regulated area. So he is essentially looking as similarly to the previous application, he's looking for a finding that this would be a permitted use as of right per section 4.1D in terms of maintenance of a residential property.
Okay, Stacy, 2 points I'm going to make. First off, as far as the voting is concerned, I'm going to abstain. And let me see, I guess next on the list is Laura. If you can just run the vote for this, I'm going to abstain because Mr. Flanagan was a former chair of the Wetlands Commission who I served with. So that's the reason for abstention. Other than that, Stacy, what is your recommendation based on review of the site?
I would recommend granting the declaratory ruling in this matter. He is knowledgeable of what needs to be done. he has spoken with me regarding what conversations he's had with the contractor, and that the contractor understands that, you know, there will be an eye kept on this, and I do believe the job will be done properly. And in my opinion, this does meet the terms of section 4.1D insofar as there's no expansion beyond the existing footprint. It's amounts to 3 inches of topsoil that's getting put down. So it's not a significant regrading or anything else like that. And they're just looking to reseed the existing area.
Also, let it be noted that this is the first time I'm hearing of the project as well. So, okay, Laura, you got this one.
Okay, this is Laura. Is anybody going to make a motion? We'd be looking for a motion
Yay or nay?
to clear the 11A. Can I make the motion if I'm doing this?
Yes. Okay.
There's nothing that says you can't. No.
Yeah,
Oh, then I'm going to make a motion that the lawn maintenance work at 11A Drive be declared. I lost my space. Permitted under use of right under section 4.1-D of our regulations. We have a motion. Is there a second?
This is Sue. I second the motion.
This is Laura. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Again, go through, Stacy, do the poll, please.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
okay, Chairman Feiners abstaining. Laura Fitch,
Aye.
Michelle Velofsky,
Aye.
Sue Pierpont,
Aye.
and Claude, if you could let me know in the chat how you vote. And he just signified aye.
So
And-
unanimous, this is Laura, unanimous motion carries, passes.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay. I'm just trying to get back to the agenda. Here we go. Okay.
I guess it's you have anything for communications and bills?
At this time, no. It's been pretty quiet. There's
I'm
not
good.
been a ton.
Okay. Anybody else have anything from a communication standpoint? Hearing nothing, we'll move on. Reports of officers, staff, and committees.
I provided, and it's in the packet, I'll scroll to it momentarily, a brief report of what's been going on in the interim since the last meeting. Just so everybody's aware, you probably are already, but just so you're aware, we are still at Town Hall remaining open normal business hours. However, the building is closed to the public. We are still receiving applications either via regular mail, via email, and we have a drop box in the foyer down by the police department. We've had applications come in, people drop them off in there, call us to let us know it's there. We go down and we pick it up. Any preliminary project questions, people are calling in or emailing and have been very flexible and understanding as far as this change. And as far as inspections go, we are still doing all outdoor inspections. The building official is doing commercial. The only thing is interior occupied residential we are not doing at the current time. If it's a unoccupied new residential construction, the building official will still go out, assuming the 6 feet of space can be maintained. But other than that, we are not doing any interior residential inspections. So just to let you guys know that.
Those 2 items we just covered, yeah.
Yep. I just wanted to update you all that I had heard from Glenn Clark from Public Works that the recommendations from Cynthia Rubinowitz of the Northwest Conservation District had been implemented at the softball field. So I will be going out and taking a peek, and like with any luck, this can be closed out, but I will obviously continue to monitor it, particularly after they top dress the field every spring. So that's that. I issued during this time period 2 agent approvals, both for above ground swimming pools and obviously both in the upland review area. The first was in the exact location a previous pool had been. The previous owner of the property had a pool, took it down. This new owner purchased it and they want to have a pool, so they're going to put one up. So it's the exact same location. The other one is at Smith Road, and that is 85 feet from the water body on site, and extremely flat. They were going to put up silt fence and et cetera, just to be sure, but it was an extremely flat piece of property. So those are 2 approvals that I did. Other than that,
Thank you.
has been pretty quiet.
Okay, the other under conservation issues, that's just general news, or that people can read on their own, or is it something that needs to be highlighted?
Just briefly, since we did not have a Conservation Commission meeting tonight, just to make things easier, I thought we'd condense it all into here. It could be summed up very quickly. The first is that I'm using this quiet time to get our certification documents in for the sustainable CT bronze level. So that's in process with a target of getting it all done by August so that we can submit for that round. The second item is just to make sure everybody's on the same page. There have been 1 or 2 queries about projects in town where when we got the information, we found out there was a conservation easement present on the property, and under state statute, the property owner has to notify the holder of the conservation easement if they're planning to do any work on the property. Researched it, found that the town of Thomaston is actually the holder of these conservation easements. I'm thinking it was part of the subdivision approval because it's at the back of all of these properties, the back 50 feet of the property. So my next question then was, okay, who gets the notification and what's the process by which they can sign off and let the property owner know, yeah, we have no problem with it. So after digging into that finding, we did not have a process in place. I spoke with the first selectman and I emailed our chairman, and unless anybody has an issue with it, what made sense was that the body that these notifications should go to is the Conservation Commission. And since I'm looking at the application anyway from a zoning and wetlands standpoint, I would also look at it in terms of, does this meet the terms of the conservation restriction? If it does, and it's not in any way impacting the conservation restriction, I'd go ahead and let them know. And if they're going to P&Z, let them know that we're okay with it. And then obviously update you guys quarterly if there's what properties this has been done with. Obviously, if there's a potential conflict with the conservation restriction, then at that point, I'd let the property owner know that they would have to meet with you guys and discuss it further. So with that in mind, there was 1 property since last we met at 46 Howard Lane. They're building a residential addition completely outside of the conservation restriction area. Their proposal meets the terms of the conservation restriction, and they're before the Planning and Zoning Commission now, not because of the addition. The addition is fine under zoning. It's that they are using it for an in-law apartment, and so they need the permission and the special permit from Planning and Zoning. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that.
Very good. I'll tell you, let me see. I don't think, I'm trying to think through this a second. I think there's 2 issues here that we need to address. First off, does everybody agree to the process? So there's a good chance to have discussion on that. And if everybody agrees to the process, I don't think we've ever formally made a declaration for Stacy as the wetlands enforcement officer to also be.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, it's just you cut out for a moment.
Oh, I'm sorry. So if we're okay with the procedure, I think we've never formally stated as a Conservation Commission that Stacy can be the agent for the Conservation Commission as well. I'm not completely sure a vote is required, but I think it'll be cleaner if we do it that way. So let's deal with the policy discussion first off. And I'm personally good with it as proposed, but everybody else chime in. Hearing nothing, I'll assume acceptance. So can we have a motion regarding making this the official policy of the Conservation Commission with regards to land use application review?
Laura Fitch, so moved. Do I need to say it all out?
Nope. You so moved it,
I so moved it.
and it's on the screen, so it's available for everybody to see. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Sue, I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Stacy, please go through the roll call.
Chairman Fainer,
Aye.
Laura Fitch,
Aye.
Michelle Volavsky,
Aye.
Sue Pierpont,
Aye.
and Claude, if you could indicate in the chat. And he voted aye.
Motion carries. So the next thing is, can I have a motion to appoint Stacy, the Conservation Commission representative, along with her title of Wetlands Enforcement Officer?
Laura Fitch, so moved.
Sue Pierpont, I second.
Any further discussion? Stacy, would you go through the roll call, please?
Sure. Chairman Fainer,
Aye.
Laura Fitch,
Aye.
Sue Pierpont,
Aye.
Claude, if you could indicate in the chat. He indicated aye. And Michelle Volavsky.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Stacy.
Not a problem. And back up to the agenda. There we go.
Okay, anything else under the reports of officers, staff, and committees then,
That's it.
from anyone? Just giving Claude a chance to type if need be. Okay. Is there a need for executive session?
Really no developments given the current situation.
That's what I assumed. Okay. So if there's no need for that, then the only item on the agenda left, unless any of the commissioners have anything else that they'd like to move to weigh in on in this session.
Laura Fitch, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Sue Pierpont, I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Please go through the roll call again, Stacy.
Chairman
All new
Fainer?
habits we have to do. Yeah.
Chairman Fainer,
Aye.
Laura Fitch,
Aye.
Sue Pierpont,
Aye.
Claude, if you could indicate. You voted aye. And Michelle Volavsky.
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you all.
Stay safe. Yep.
Thank you.